Ok. Hallo. Bonjour à tous. Goedemorgen. Goedemorgen, bonjour à tous. Ik ben Christophe van Comeos. Goedemorgen allemaal. Aujourd'hui, on va parler de l'intelligence artificielle dans le secteur du retail. We gaan het vandaag hebben over artificiële intelligentie in de sector van de retail. Et pour commencer, en fait, pour nous, c'est très important. Aujourd'hui, on a plusieurs partenaires, maar het is eigenlijk heel voornamelijk belangrijk. On travaille ensemble avec Digital Wallonia et AI. Donc, je suis très content d'avoir ce partenariat. We gaan jullie vandaag inspireren. We gaan ook heel veel kennis delen. We gaan even kijken naar het programma van de voormiddag, l'avant-midi. La première partie, en tout cas, on va commencer directement avec un keynote de l'AI dans le retail. Puis, on vous parlera, important aussi, une étude, comment les retailers belges, wat doen die Belgische retailers vandaag? Hoe staat het daarbij? Dus we hebben een enquête gedaan bij onze eigen leden. En dan, daarna is het een netwerkpauze. Puis il y aura une pause et puis il y aura une seconde partie, bien évidemment. Alors, important, maintenant, voilà. On va directement commencer avec le keynote de l'AI en retail. Voor heel veel mensen is AI, wat is AI, is heel flou. Comment s'y mettre? Que peut-on faire? Quelles sont les tendances? Qu'est-ce qui se passe dans le monde? Beaucoup ne le savent pas. Et c'est pour ça qu'on avait besoin d'un keynote. Et aujourd'hui, je donne donc la parole à Nikhil Nagaraj de ML6, qui est la Machine Learning Engineer. Vos applaudissements, s'il vous plaît.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks, Christophe, for the introduction. So, welcome to this keynote address on AI in retail at this wonderful conference. Really nice to see everyone here, all bright and early, looking very fresh. Before I jump into the whole talk about AI, what the hype is about, and what we can do with AI in the retail sector, who am I? I am Nikhil. I am a machine learning engineer at ML6, and we at ML6 are an AI and machine learning consultancy, so we empower businesses and help them solve their problems, optimize their processes using AI and machine learning. All right, so the agenda for today is as follows. First, we will look at generally what AI can do in the retail industry, what all this hype is about, and how can it bring value to the retail industry. But of course, when it's a new technology, there are always challenges. We'll look at some of these challenges of using AI in the retail industry, and how do we solve them, right? I just don't want to give you problems and then go away. That would not be nice. We will also look at some examples of actual applications in the industry and how it has been used. We will then look at some trends that are coming up. You've all heard of ChatGPT, I guess. We'll look at that. And then some closing thoughts, some takeaways from this keynote. All right, first thing. AI in the retail industry. Why are we talking about it? How can it bring value, right? So McKinsey, you've all heard of McKinsey, the big consulting company. In one of their recent studies, they estimated that the value of AI in the retail industry is around $400 to $800 billion annually. That number looks quite large, and the difference is also quite large. But one thing that it tells us is that there is a lot of value of artificial intelligence in the retail industry. Why is that? When I talk about AI, a lot of you might think of applications like this, right? Where you can upload a picture of yourself and try on a lot of different clothes without actually going to the store or without actually touching those clothes before you buy them. Or you might think of another fancy use case where stores are completely monitored by cameras, and workers in the stores get a notification when something goes out of stock and they're able to stock it. Yes, these are all applications of AI in the retail industry, but there's a whole lot more that is happening right now that is providing value to businesses in the retail industry. So one of the key applications, and one of these applications are something that we've seen in our everyday lives, right? So recommender systems. You've all used Amazon, you've all used Coolblue, you've all used Bowl.com. You've all signed up for loyalty programs, reward programs at various stores, and then they recommend certain items to you. This is powered by AI. Another use case is dynamic pricing, right? We've all experienced taxi services which sometimes hike prices during key times. This has also led to a lot of controversy, but these applications are also powered by AI. Another key use case, and one that has been in use for a long time, is forecasting, right? If you could accurately predict how much you would sell in the long-term future, that's an exciting piece of information to have because you could make a lot of value out of that. Customer churn, if you could predict whether a customer would stay loyal to your business, that would be valuable. If you could draw key insights from the data that you have, and you're able to say, okay, this decision might actually help, or this decision might actually hurt based on actual evidence, that is where AI can help you. You can have data-driven decisions. And the last thing is quality control, right? Imagine a production line, and you have items passing on the production line. If you have an automated system able to recognize items that are being made and decide whether this satisfies your quality marks or it does not, that would be very valuable, right? So AI is finding a lot of use case in all these sectors. So it's not only about the fancy things where you can actually upload your pictures and try out various clothes, or have stores that are completely monitored by cameras. It's in these applications where AI is finding its most value. Let's dive deep into some of them. So forecasting. Forecasting, like I mentioned, has been a use case where AI has been used for a long time. It has been used for decades now, right? So what does forecasting mean? You can predict future events based on historical data. So you are using historical data to predict future events. How does this bring value? This brings value because based on these predictions, if they're accurate, you can optimize your business processes. You can make smarter decisions based on these predictions. For example, you can optimize how much you stock if you know how much you're going to sell, and which is very valuable because then you do not have dead stock, or you do not end up with no items to sell when people want it. You could also use these predictions, you could also use the insights that you gather from these models to essentially identify which features correlate to fluctuations in your sales. During the rainy season, you sell more umbrellas. During summers, you sell more umbrellas. During the rainy seasons, you sell more ponchos, right? This is very easy to say, and this is something we gain from natural experience living as a human. But there are greater correlations, there are greater relations between various events around and sales, which you can gain from using AI models. So how does forecasting actually work? So forecasting actually works with these 4 steps, right? You first collect and understand your data, then you build a forecasting model, and use these predictions to create valuable decisions. But let's dive even deeper, because this is all fluff, right? This is very simple. This is 4 steps. If it was so easy, everybody would do it. So what do you need to do? First, you need to collect and understand data. And from personal experience working with business in the retail industry, I can tell you that it's not a very easy task. You will find that data is on tens of your employees' laptops, tens of your colleagues' laptops, on various Excel files, right? It's not a very easy job to collect all this data, but it has to happen. Then you build a model. And models do not need to be built in a very fancy way. They can be very simple Excel-based forecasting models. Or you could take the next step, build forecasting models in a way that can learn over and over again, keep improving with time. And some of the tools people use are Python and R, or the same thing. Once you have these models and have the predictions, what you could do with this is you could manage inventory, which is a fairly straightforward application, right? If you know how much you're going to sell, you know how much you're going to stock. Fairly straightforward. You could plan your workforce. If you know how many people you're going to have at your store, at your business, you could then decide how many employees you want staffing your business at that point in time. You could plan production, and you could also accurately budget and streamline cash flow. Because if you know how much you're going to sell, you know how much revenue you're going to make, right? You could use these ideas, you could use these insights to actually have smarter, better decision-making in terms of cash flow allocations and credit. Let's look at another use case, recommender systems. And this is something that is very personal to all of us because we've all spent time with apps, tools, stores, where we have products and movies and songs recommended to us based on what we like, right? So the core idea is simple. You identify customer behavior, you understand customer behavior, and based on it, you provide a more tailored and efficient experience. How does this create value? This basically creates value by generating increased sales. How many times have we all given into an impulse purchase because something was shown to us on a website? It enhances customer experience and satisfaction because if you're able to understand the customer better, you're able to recommend better products to the customer, recommend better offers. You also improve inventory management, because if you understand your customers better, you know what they want. And you can also have targeted marketing and reward programs, which altogether creates a competitive advantage. So simply, how do these recommender systems work? So if I bought a certain item, and you have a similar item, you would recommend that item to me. Sounds very simple, right? But this does not take into account a lot of complex behavior, a lot of complex decisions, a lot of complex background that is involved in making these decisions. So generally, recommender systems are of two types. One of them is called content-based filtering systems. So this is the example I mentioned previously. So if you buy an item, you're recommended similar items. But the problem here is one of cold start. If you are a new customer, how do I know what you want, right? I have no idea what you would like. How do I recommend items to you? And the recommendations are also limited in scope. Because say, for example, you buy a chair, I might reasonably guess you want a table. Fair enough. I cannot guess what kind of shirt you would like based on your chair purchase. Right? That was just guessing, and we are not here for that. So these are the limitations of content-based filtering systems. A second type is the collaborative filtering systems, where you not only look at the items a customer buys, but you also look at other similar customers. Right? You look for people, say, in the age of 26 who are interested in a particular print on a T-shirt. Say, for example, Tupac T-shirts are all the rage these days. And you see that everybody in a certain age group is buying those T-shirts. And then you can recommend to a new customer who is in that age group said T-shirt, because you have the data that tells you that customers in this age group are interested. But of course, it's not all hunky-dory, it's not all easy. There are also limitations here. Some of the limitations include that you cannot have background information on your customers. Right? How do you collate all that information and generate valuable recommendations? So these days, there is a third approach that is being used, a combination of content-based filtering and collaborative filtering approaches, which is a hybrid approach. So you try to understand as much as you can about a customer, you try to understand as much as you can about an item, and then make those recommendations. This is called hyper-personalization. So you personalize recommendations, you personalize customer experience as much as you can. Another use case that we look at is dynamic pricing. And I know dynamic pricing has a little bit of, it's the bad kid in the park, right? It has unethical implications. It sounds unethical. Dynamic pricing, am I pricing different items for different people at different prices? Is that even right? Am I supposed to do that? But dynamic pricing is a lot more than that, right? It's about understanding demand. It's about understanding the market and setting your prices accordingly, and doing this in an automated, scalable way. Because if you sell 2 items, you can price them manually every day. If you sell 2,000 items, we're looking at some trouble. If you sell 20,000 items, you would have to spend a lot of time just pricing those items every day, right? So dynamic pricing looks at adjusting the prices of a product in a way that reflects market needs and reflects a way that could optimize business metrics that you choose. And it doesn't just not have to be profit. It can be stock. If you want, you can get rid of dead stock. If you want, you can sell a lot more items during a period there where you want to sell items. So there are a lot of options you have. It's up to you to choose which business metric you want to optimize. So like I mentioned, this generates value by maximizing revenues or profit. It can minimize lost sales, right? Because if you know that a certain customer might buy a certain item if it is priced at a certain rate, and if that is still in line with your business metrics, you could do that. And you could do that in an automated way, where you don't even have to manually go and change the price, right? This keeps your business competitive. Of course, we are all in this business to be competitive, sell more items, and create value. It creates higher levels of demand, and it also provides insights into what your customers like, at which price would they be willing to buy a certain item. And like I mentioned, it can also boost sales if you have dead stock or old inventory stock that you just want to sell. Because at this point, you are probably losing money just having that stock in your warehouse or having that stock at somebody else's warehouse, which is also problematic, right? So if with dynamic pricing, you could switch it on and say, oh, I just want to get rid of this, and this is the minimal price that I can offer. The algorithm can figure out at which price your customers are actually willing to buy this item and get rid of that item for you. How does dynamic pricing work? So dynamic pricing works in a very simple way where we look at demand curves, right? So you look at the demand at a certain price, and based on that, you estimate what would be the optimal price to sell a particular item. Of course, this sounds very simple, and at its core, it actually is. It's just about understanding the demand curves of your customers, of your particular product. You could do this in a way where you could continuously optimize your price, where you actually actively try out new prices. Say, for example, you've never sold an item at a particular price, right? Why haven't you? You can try it out, and you might get results that shock you or surprise you. We've had this experience. We've sold items at prices our clients thought that would not sell, and we were still able to maintain volume, revenue, and profits. So what dynamic pricing can do for you is give you more insights about what your customers want and how your particular products are actually perceived in the market. All right, this is all very nice. It's like 3 use cases. We've gone deep into it. We've seen what it can do, how it can bring value. You might be thinking, if it's all so easy, why isn't everyone already doing it? There are a few challenges. There are a few challenges. The first one, like I mentioned, is data management. And trust me, it is probably the biggest challenge. Excel files galore, collecting all these Excel files, ensuring people actually fill in data in a format that is usable is quite a big problem. And it's not the easiest thing to solve, right? Somebody might fill in something with a typo. You've now got to go back and fix it. Or you have to have systems in place to fix it. If your sales increase, your data management system should be able to scale along with it, right? So creating a robust and scalable data management system is a big challenge. Another challenge is knowledge distillation, because people working in the industry have a lot of knowledge. Somebody who has, say, 20, 30 years of experience in the industry has a ton of experience they've collected over time. I am not going to go there and tell them that a model can do better than them. Of course not. And it's very hard for a model to do better than them immediately. It takes a while. It takes a bit of effort. And it takes cooperation and distillation of that knowledge into the model. Because there is a core amount of experience and a core amount of insights that you can gain by being on the field that is not very easy to replicate. So you need to be able to distill this knowledge into your AI models. The third thing is organizational culture. Of course, we will all want to believe that our businesses are completely open to innovation, completely open to new technologies. If there's a technology that we see is valuable, we will adapt it. That's not really the case, is it? There might be hidden barriers. There might be ways of working that block someone from trying out new things. And those things have to be tackled. Because if they are not, you will have a lot of your colleagues, a lot of your employees getting into a phase where they do not really want to try out new things because they see these barriers. Another challenge is customer validation. Of course, all of this matters to an absolute zero if customers are not happy. If your customers are not happy, what's the point of having a very accurate forecasting model or a very accurate recommendation system? What's the point at all? You need customer validation. And your customers should know how their data is being stored and how their data is being used, apart from the legal consequences, right? We all know about GDPR, but there is a matter of letting your customers know how their data is being used and stored. The last one is confronting bias and ethics. And as we move on and on into AI advancement, and as we talk about ChatGPT, as we talk about fancier models, newer things, image generation models, we've all heard this problem. The problem of bias, the problem of ethical deployment and ethical use of AI. The issue here is AI models can sometimes generate correlations that are not really found in real life. An example is credit, right? If you go to a bank and ask for credit, you need to know why you were refused credit, if you were refused, of course. You need to know, because that might give you a chance to improve. If you have a model that is a black box and that does not give you any information on why you're being refused credit, that's a big problem, right? And it might be having some correlations. It might be making some relations which are completely invalid. We've all heard of race being used in places where it should not be. We've all heard of gender biases in AI models. We don't want to add more of that, right? So your models have to be ethically sound, and you have to ensure that they do not have bias in them. But how do you solve all these problems? There are solutions. And because there are solutions, companies are adopting AI tools in their workflows, right? Because if there were no solutions, these are a huge number of problems, and nobody would adopt AI. So the first key solution is to ensure the buy-in of stakeholders. This might be your employees, this might be people on the ground, this might be key decision makers. You need to ensure that they are on board and you're co-creating solutions with them. You're not imposing a solution on them. Because they have a lot of insights, they have a lot of knowledge that they can bring to the table that might allow you to create an even better AI solution. The second one is, unfortunately, the simplest one. You have to invest in data management systems. There is no getting around it. You have to invest in data management systems to set up a robust, scalable data infrastructure. And this does not have to be very fancy, right? It does not have to be something that you pay millions and millions of dollars for. It can start with something as simple as ensuring that everybody who enters data or everybody who's responsible for data collection does it in a particular format at a particular place. That would be a very good start already. The third thing is that you have to create AI systems which are transparent, which are explainable. So you can not only explain to your customers, you can also explain to your employees why certain decisions are being taken or why certain decisions are being recommended. So say you're a floor manager and an AI model recommends that you need to have 5 people at work tomorrow. You need to know why, right? You need insights to let you know, why is this model telling me this? Because then you can explain as to why you're only having 5 people on the floor tomorrow. But all this can sound very overwhelming. All this can sound like, my business is going well. Why do I need to adopt AI? Why is this all necessary? It's a very fancy day. I'm going to hear a lot about AI. Why do I have to do anything, right? What is the problem of just letting things move along? The problem of letting things move along in this environment is that you will be caught flat-footed in a world that is running right past you. The technology is advancing. There are businesses looking for opportunities everywhere. And if you do not adapt new technologies as they rise, it'll be problematic. A couple of examples: inefficient operations. We know from experience that AI can optimize a lot of processes quite a bit. We'll dive into them in the case studies, but we know that non-adoption of AI or non-adoption of statistical processing can actually increase the possibility of inefficiencies in your business processes. It can also lead to missed growth opportunities. You might find insights in your data which you would not find unless you actually used statistical analysis and AI. Poor customer experience. Of course, these days customers have a lot of expectations from where they shop, what they buy. And if you cannot give them a good customer experience, they might just move to a competitor who does. Putting all this together, you essentially will not be able to keep up with competition who adopts new technologies in a sane, sensible way, right? This is all very doomsday-ish, I know. I'm not supposed to scare you people, that's not the aim. But I'm just letting you know that you need to think about this, right? You need to keep this in mind as you work. You need to see what is possible and be open to new possibilities. With that, let's look at some examples of actual use of AI in the industry, right? In the retail industry. So the first case that I'll talk about is a fashion group who we helped with forecasting. Like I mentioned, forecasting is a very big use case of AI, with forecasting to help them manage their inventories. We know the challenge. It's a fashion group. Clothes go in and out of fashion every week. There's a new trend every week. How do you now forecast sales for clothes over multiple marketplaces, multiple countries? So you're not only forecasting for Belgium, you're not forecasting for your city, you're forecasting for multiple countries across Europe. How do you do that, right? What do you do? How do you manage inventories across multiple countries? So what we did, and what was necessary was we realized that they had one major problem, which was everything was in the heads of certain employees. There were good processes, they were never documented, but they were all in the lived experience of certain employees, which is good enough, but as a business that wants to scale, not really scalable, right? So that was something we realized. And we also realized that the clothing sector, especially with online shopping, sees a lot of fluctuations in trends, in seasonalities. So what we did was we built them an integrated platform that could ingest data from all their sources. We built a forecasting model on top, and then gave them the control back with a UX, with a user experience, where they could use our forecasts, where they could use all the other data to make inventory decisions. So we did not make the inventory decisions for them. We did not say, oh, you need to stock 100 items of item X in a certain country. No, no, no. What we said was we predict this. These are your other variables. Now use your experience to actually make the final decision, right? And that was quite valuable. The graph you see here is a forecast for a particular period in time, right? So you will see that they have historical sales from somewhere in July 2020. And as you go into the future, you will also see a graph of our forecasts. So they use this data along with other variables that they saw in the market to make these inventory decisions. What was the value that we achieved? Substantially high revenue for them. We increased the revenue by 10%, which was, in rough numbers, it's 10 million for annually, right? 2021, 2022. And this is not something we calculated. We just gave them the data and asked them to calculate this because, we are a consultancy at the end. You don't really want us calculating the results of what we did, right? We'll just allow them to do it. They did it, and they were so happy. Because they could realize, the employees could realize that their processes were becoming better. They could realize this, you have this gut feeling, right? When you're doing something, oh, this is much better than what I did last year, right? You know, but you need to put a number on it. And they did, they put a number on it. Another use case, which even me, like, we'll have used this pretty often, I guess. Coolblue. So Coolblue was, a long time ago, a few years ago, was outgrowing their BI platform. They were a young company. They were outgrowing their BI platform. And they had some processes which would take around 8 hours to run. I mean, it's a long time. It's basically the time between, like, when you sleep and when you wake up. Processes should not take this long, generally. So what did we do? We built a data management system for them. We built a data management system that could ingest data from all kinds of sources, streaming data, people clicks, sales data, everything, and put this in a place where they could have sophisticated data analysis, where they could draw insights. And once you could draw insights, we added a recommendation system on top. We've all seen this, right? We've all seen this recommendation. And we were able to integrate machine learning and human recommendations for Coolblue. Of course, the value delivered here is much beyond just plain numbers, because if you're an online store, recommendations are your bread and butter. And if being able to do that in a scalable way matters a lot. So these are current use cases of AI. But a lot of you will be wondering about, why is this guy not talking about ChatGPT? And you're being very nice and not heckling me about it. But you probably are wondering, why am I not talking about ChatGPT? Why am I not talking about the other cool things that we see on the internet? The main reason I am not talking about those until now is because the use cases that you saw are the bread and butter use cases of AI. These are use cases that have been proven, that have been used repeatedly by businesses all over the world. And these are use cases that have been proven to bring value. Cases that I'm about to talk next, in one slide basically, are use cases that are coming up. There are a few stores which have done it, the Walmarts, the Amazons of the world, but it has not found its way all the way down yet. So a first key future trend that we see are virtual assistants. I don't know if you've noticed, but nowadays there are stores that offer you a shopping experience on Messenger or on WhatsApp. Right? These are powered by virtual chatbots like ChatGPT. So you can basically send them what you want in a piece of text. They understand that and basically buy that item and send it to you. The second one is augmented reality. AI-powered augmented reality is changing a lot of things. You can now go on to online stores or even real-life stores with online portals, and you can try on clothes. You can try on glasses without ever stepping into their stores, which is very nice because you can make certain decisions, and if you are the person who wants to actually touch and feel them, you know which ones you want to actually see because you've tried on a lot of things online already. A few other applications are automated stores. We've all seen these videos of Amazon having completely no personnel in their stores. People go in, pick up items, come out. That is a piece of application, but that's still a while away in the future, right? Visual search. Say I found somebody's dress really attractive. I was able to click a picture and search, where can I buy this dress? That's fascinating, right? Because a lot of our shopping choices are made on the basis of impulse. We see something, we like it, and we think, oh, if I see this again, I'm probably going to buy it. Voice assistants. What if you did not have to type? I mean, my mom would tell me that you're getting really lazy, you should at least type. But no. What if you did not have to type and you could just tell WhatsApp or Alexa or Google Home, buy me this thing? So there's a lot of scope here. But as I mentioned, the bread and butter applications are ones that we've seen being used in multiple industries, multiple countries, multiple levels, and they have brought value already. So some closing thoughts before I wrap up. The first one basically being AI is not just about what you see on the internet. It's just not all about the hype. There are a lot of real-world use cases that are being employed that are bringing value. Second one is that there are a lot of challenges, but this is the same for everything. I mean, there's a challenge when you have a new colleague. There's a challenge when you have a new business. There's a challenge when you have a new technology, right? But none of these challenges are insurmountable. You just need to think about them, make smart decisions. Not adopting AI in your decision-making process might lead to inefficiencies, missed growth opportunities, and generally competition just moving past you. This is a world where people are looking for even the smallest opportunities to grow, and AI is providing quite a large opportunity there to optimize your processes. And if you do not remember anything that I've said until now, if you're like, okay, this was a nice presentation, blah, 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 I just want you to remember one last thing. One thing that I want you to remember is with technology advancing so rapidly, you should keep an eye out. You should see what can bring value to your business and try it out. It might not. You might decide, okay, this is not worth it, and you might stop trying. But you need to think about it. Think hard about the technologies that are out there, and especially with AI advancing so rapidly, it definitely makes sense to keep an eye out and see what can bring value to your business. Thank you. You can, of course, find me on LinkedIn and find us on our website.
Okay. You can stay because we have a Q&A. Thanks for the insights. I saw also you are a problem solver because always, all problems, you had a solution. So I think he's a good guy. Bon, we have a queue. Vous pouvez poser vos questions en néerlandais, en français, en anglais, en chinois. À vous, qui a des questions? Wie heeft er een vraag? Et s'il n'y a pas de main, je suis un méchant, je vais indiquer quelqu'un. Geen vragen? Zijn jullie klaar? Faites attention. Ik ga dat dire. La personne qui reçoit donnera à quelqu'un qui posera une question. Voilà-y. Voilà, il est allumé, ne vous inquiétez pas. N'ayez pas peur. Vous dites votre nom, entreprise et puis votre question, si vous en avez une.
Bon, Sevelot is for you. As you've mentioned in your talk, you have the NLP background, so I'm curious to see what are the applications of NLP you're exploiting currently for the retail sector.
Yeah, that's actually a very nice question because a lot of key ideas in NLP are kind of being overtaken by the fancy idea of having a chatbot around, right? But a lot of applications that we do with NLP involve, say, feedback analysis, right? So say a customer bought a certain item, and they've given you certain feedback about it. Might be online, might be offline, might be in store. They write down something. So there are two things that you need to do here. If you have a person reading it, of course, that's very nice, but this is not scalable, again, because that person is going to forget at some point, and somebody has to then type it in and do all these processes, right? So two key applications that we see here is first actually digitizing this feedback and storing it for posterity. And the second thing is actually analyzing this feedback to determine sentiment, to determine what was the problem, right? If there was one, of course. So these are the two key applications that we see of NLP. Another application that we see growing, but of course we have not really seen it applied anywhere yet, at least personally, is application of generating recommendations using product descriptions, right? Until now, what I was talking about in terms of recommendations was just item characteristics. But now every product has a description, every product has an image, right? And if you're able to use that information to actually generate more insightful data about that product, you can recommend these items better to your customers. So these are some of the applications that we see of NLP in the industry.
Thank you.
OK. D'autres questions? Andere vragen? Nee? OK. Thanks. So it was all clear. Thanks. Yeah. You can give this. OK, applaudissements. Dank u wel.